Let's continue with our Freedom Day highlights. In fact, the rule of law as enshrined in our Constitution. It serves as a foundational principle, ensuring equality before the law and also aids in the protection of human rights. And so 31 years into our democracy on this Freedom Day, commemorated to really reflect on South Africa's first multiracial democratic elections in 1994. For this chat, we're going to be shining a spotlight on the role of the rule of law, constitutionalism in a post-apartheid South Africa, really what freedom means at large. And so joining us for that discussion, we are joined by Justice Edwin Cameron, retired Constitutional Court judge. Justice Cameron, good morning, and thank you for making time to be with us here on such an important day for the nation at large.
What a pleasure to be with you and with SABC viewers. Thank you.
Thank you. I mean, we've been having some rolling coverage, looking at the strides that have been taken in some areas of our country, but the challenges as well. And I wonder if we could just start off by reflecting on the significance of this day for South Africa, perhaps the evolution of constitutionalism and the role of the rule of law in South Africa since that transition into democracy.
That's a great question. And of course, I'm speaking as a lawyer, as someone who was appointed as a judge in 1994 and served in the High Court and the Appeal Court and then in the Constitutional Court. But I couldn't help being struck by your channel's interviews with the residents of Ermelo. We talk about constitutionalism and rights, and very important to our country the last 31 years. But to hear the residents of that Ermelo township talk about the unfulfilled promises, the relative misery in which they are living is very sobering to anyone who wants to talk about high promises and aspirations. But we mustn't forget those aspirations. If one looks back 31 years and tries to assess what we have achieved, the critics of the constitutional settlement often have a point because we haven't achieved what we should have achieved. But they imply that President Mandela in 1994 envisaged a constitutional transition that would lead us to where we are today. No, the constitutional negotiators thought that we would build on everything that the vicious apartheid order had achieved, but improve it. Now, we haven't achieved that at all. We've achieved a lot. We've achieved more housing. We've achieved social grants, which are a very important safety net for many, many tens of millions of people in our country. We have a functioning democracy, which is very important in our world at the moment, because even the founding democracies of the world are not properly functioning at the moment. We have media freedoms. We have genuine equality progress for people like myself. I'm a queer man, a proudly gay man, and I was appointed to the High Court by President Mandela in 1994. And undoubtedly, the LGBTI community in South Africa has the sort of equality and dignity that is not found elsewhere on the continent. So in those respects, we have achieved a lot, but in other respects, we have fallen short.
Justice Cameron, thank you for painting that succinct picture, because the challenges and the achievements in upholding the rule of law, particularly in this transforming society, really has come to the fore. And I wonder if we could then explore the role of the judiciary in shaping democratic institutions, but also just safeguarding the constitutional principles. I mean, given the separations of power principle and 31 years into our democracy.
The judiciary is one of the sterling achievements of our democracy. And the courage of judges, Chief Justices, Chaskelson, Chief Justice Pius Langa, Chief Justice Mogoeng, Chief Justice Ngobo, the current Chief Justice, Chief Justice Meyer, her predecessor, Chief Justice Zondo, have been significant. They've stood up to government when government has acted immorally or unlawfully or irrationally. One of the achievements of our democracy, and I want to mention the achievement because there are lessons to draw from it. One of the achievements of our democracy, which is imperiled now by the brutal Trump cuts to PEPFAR and to USAID, is our antiretroviral treatment program. I started on antiretrovirals at the end of 1997 when I was paying for it because I had the salary of a judge, so I could buy my life. But we now have 7 million people like myself, 7 million South Africans whose lives are being saved right today. I took my ARV tablet about half an hour ago, 1 tablet every day, and I'm with 1 part of 7 million people. About 14% of our population are living with HIV. Now, that achievement was a constitutional achievement because Zaki Ahmed started the Treatment Action Campaign. They took to the streets against the drug companies, high pricing. They won that battle. Against President Mbeki's AIDS denialism, they took to the streets, they took to the courts and won that battle. The Constitutional Court gave a remarkable judgment in 2002, saying to government, you better start rolling out. And government eventually did that. And now we have the world's most successful ARV treatment program. Now, what are the lessons? The lessons are that citizen activism and those residents that you had on your newscast 35 minutes ago are being active. They're exercising their freedom to criticize government, to complain, to push government, to rightly make demands on government. And the lesson is that we as citizens in South Africa are empowered by a constitution to shape our own government. And we did that with the ARV program. Now, may I just say, in concluding this segment, that the ARV program is in severe peril. Professor Francois Venter of Wits, who is one of the heroes of clinical HIV and of HIV activism, has written an article in Ground Up saying that government is nowhere to be seen. The Americans have pulled the rug on our program, and we can afford to step in where the Americans have stepped out, but government has not made any plans to do so. So again, we need HIV activism like we had 20 years ago.
Well, there certainly is that call to action, and thank you for speaking to that example and for highlighting it. I think I want to pick up on some of the landmark judgments over the years that you think have shaped our democracy, the relationship between the judiciary, the branches of government, civil society, the impact it's also had for South Africa Inc. at large.
I think one of the pivotal judgments was the antiretroviral treatment judgment, which was a unanimous judgment of all 11 then Constitutional Court judges. I wasn't there, of course, but it was given at a difficult time and a difficult issue with a very powerful and proud president, President Mbeki. I would mention a couple of other judgments as well, which have been pivotal. The one is the Glenister judgment, in which my revered colleague, Deputy Chief Justice Moseneke, was the lead author. And that required government to set up an independent corruption-busting mechanism. We still haven't achieved that. Glenister was years ago, 2011, and still we don't have a sufficiently independent corruption-busting mechanism. There's still debates about it, there's still draft legislation, but the principle was laid down very bravely by the Constitutional Court. Another vital judgment, and this also goes back to SABC 404's news coverage this morning, was the judgment against then President Zuma in the Nkandla case. An extraordinary judgment. I called it a sermon, and Chief Justice Mogoeng heard that I'd called it a sermon. He was very amused because, of course, he's a pastor. So then I said to him in a meeting at the court, yes, Chief Justice, you gave the nation a sermon. He did. 31st of March, 2016, Chief Justice Mogoeng took President Zuma to task for his grotesque breaches of the Constitution, his violation of elementary constitutional principles, and his voracious claiming for himself at Nkandla in a country where there are millions of needful people whom the Constitution has not yet served. So there have been a whole list of judgments, important judgments in gender equality, important judgments in traditional authority, and the Constitutional Court and the judiciary. Most of the important independent judgments are delivered in our magistrates' court and in the high courts and the appeal court. The Constitutional Court is only the apex court.
Yes, absolutely. And I want to actually look at the independence of the judiciary, the judicial system at large, because that also then looks at, interpretations, the application of constitutional rights. On paper, we have our constitution down to the T, but implementation, can be questioned at times. And if we're looking at the state of the judiciary, issues of resources, funding capacity, representation, inclusion, what more could be done from your vantage point?
We've achieved a lot with inclusivity and representativity. The judiciary, all courts are majority black, many of them are majority women, and that is a fundamental transformation. But of course, the question every time, once you've achieved inclusivity and representation, is what are they doing with it? So that's the good question you raise. The judiciary does need more resources and it needs more efficiency. There have been a series of articles criticizing the output of the apex court. There have been greater delays, greater time taken to deal with petitioners' applications in the court to decide what are we going to do with this? Are we going to dismiss it? Are we going to set it down? Are we going to grant the application? And the length of time that the top court has taken to deliver judgments has increased as well. And of course, the top court should be the exemplar for all other judges and magistrates in the country. So there's a lot more to be done in all aspects of our national life, including in the judiciary.
Yes.
But can I just add to this that the courage of the judiciary, the determination, with a few bad apples, extremely bad, disgraceful apples, and some of them have been removed from the judiciary. With those exceptions, the overwhelming picture is of a diligent, focused, committed, independent judiciary, and that is a significant achievement of our democracy.
Justice Cameron, I need to wrap up. Very quickly, what does freedom mean to you? What else can we expect from you for the foreseeable future? Anything to be documented?
I would go back very personally as a gay man who's been living with HIV, who's living on the world's most successful antiretroviral treatment program that is now in peril. Democracy has meant those affirmations for me. It's also meant greater insight into what we haven't achieved, greater insight into my privilege as a white person, as a middle or upper middle class person with all the privileges of my lifestyle in a country where we still can and must do so much more for equality and for resource allocation.
Thank you, Justice Edwin Cameron, for your time and for weighing in. We'll leave that conversation there. Of course, retired Constitutional Court judge joining us and reflecting on the significance of Freedom Day today. 27th of April follows 31 years of democracy.